Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is episode 5 of Coffee with Raph, your daily podcast show on personal development and personal leadership tools. And today we're going to be looking at the fact that how you react to certain things really showcases who you are deep down as a person, as a human being. And we're going to be digging into some Stoic wisdom. We're going to be looking at Epictetus again from his wonderful book full of ancient wisdom, the Enchiridion. And we're going to be talking about a core precept of Stoicism. To illustrate that, I'm going to start with a quote. And he says, "Men are disturbed not by the opinions about the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." We're going to dig down deep into that. But before we do so, let's check out the summary for today's episode. In part 1, as always, we're going to be reading and learning and acting upon what we learn. And we're going to be reading a passage of Epictetus Enchiridion, and that will help us realize that the outcome of an event is what really depends on your reaction to it. In part 2, we're going to take our journals out like every day, and we're going to be asking ourselves the question, are we response able? And by response able, I mean really in 2 words. Response able. Are we able to respond? Or do we fall into the victimization profile? In part 3, we're going to be guided through a visualization exercise to get that concept sinking within ourselves. In part 4, I'm going to guide you through some empowering affirmations that we do every morning. And this is going to be to get you pumped and motivated to start the day and live your day with absolute passion. And last but not least, in part 5, we will do a guided meditation together, to create this calm energy, and so that you're creative and ready to start the best day ever. Okay, I hope that you guys are excited to get started. Let's dig right in. Welcome to the channel, everybody. This is our little morning show here where we spend a few moments of the day together every single day, Monday through Friday, to empower us in living an extraordinary life one day at a time. If this is interesting to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. All episodes come with free worksheets so that you can follow along and do the exercises as well as the affirmations with us. To get them, as well as these videos directly in your inbox, join our free mailing list. If you want to listen to these episodes on your commute on the go, check out the podcast, and all information needed is in the description to this video below if you're watching on YouTube, or in the show notes to this episode if you're already on the podcast. We also have a support group, a little book club, a reading list, everything you need to know. All the links are in the description to this episode. Let's start right now. By reading a passage from the Enchiridion by Epictetus. He says, and I quote, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. For example, death is nothing terrible, for if it were, it would have seemed so to Socrates. So the opinion about death that it is terrible is the terrible thing. When then we are impeded or disturbed or grieved, let us never blame others but ourselves, that is, our opinions. It is the act of an ill-instructed man to blame others for his own bad condition. It is the act of one who has begun to be instructed to lay the blame on himself, and of one whose instruction is completed, neither to blame another nor himself." I like this quote, end of quote. And this is really wise and really quite profound. And for full disclosure here, to act in complete transparency with you guys, I'm actually really struggling with this one in my own personal life. Let me know if you are too in the comments below. Do you also have a tendency to blame others for external events, and sometimes even blame yourself when not appropriate to do so? Remember that Epictetus was born a slave over 2,000 years ago in the Roman Empire, which makes his wisdom even more baffling, right? Imagine if you were born a slave, would you blame other people, the slave owners, society, the world in general? Well, he was writing this in that context. So this is even more mind-blowing. So let's look at this for a little moment and think about this very concept. If an event really caused us to react in a specific way, if the event is in fact a culprit that should take the blame for our reaction and for the way we react to that event, then wouldn't we all always react the same way for the same event? And you know that's not true, right? We all react to loss, for example, differently. We all react differently to failure, to success, to love, to lack thereof, to a breakup, and so on. And we need to indeed recognize and internalize within ourselves that it is not the event that creates the response, it is how we interpret the event, or as Epictetus puts it, our opinion of that event that determines everything. If you're into Stoic philosophy, then you will know that this is a huge topic for the Stoics. In fact, both Marcus Aurelius and Seneca say practically the same thing. Let me share a few quotes with you. The Emperor of Rome, first of all, Marcus Aurelius, he says, and I quote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." End of quote. I love this especially because this guy was the most powerful man in the world over 2,000 years ago, the Emperor of Rome. He ruled the whole of Europe, North Africa, what is now Turkey, and much more, right? He was a very powerful man. When I compare him to current leaders, such as Trump, maybe in America, or Boris in the UK, who take zero responsibility. I take no responsibility, he said, for tens and tens of thousands of deaths, nearly 10,000 deaths, 100,000 deaths now. And yeah, taking zero responsibility for their mistakes and for their action or inactions. Imagine the, the difference between the people that we're talking about. These two types of leadership. If one of them you can even call it leadership. And on that note, let's. And Seneca. Let's quote Seneca, also another great Stoic philosopher. He says, and I quote, "The place one's in, though, doesn't make any contribution to peace of mind. It's the spirit that makes everything agreeable to oneself." The place one's in does not make any contribution to peace of mind. It's the spirit that makes everything agreeable to oneself. I really like this. And on that note, let's take out our journals for today and write about this for a few minutes. And what I want you to try to do, or no, I don't want you to try to do it, I want you to do it, is to respond to answer to these questions. So these are the questions I'm going to ask you, and you can start writing straight away. At the end, you can also pause the episodes to take more time to write. The questions are as follow. Do you tend to victimize yourself? Do you tend to blame others for bad things happening to you? Do you react with your emotions first and maybe later your brain? I know I do this a lot, personally. I really need to work on all these things. So let's work on this together. Why not? The last question is, how is your response ability? In 2 words, response ability, your ability to respond to things, to external things. Tomorrow we'll dig into that, and we're going to quote Osho's interpretation of that response ability. If you need to, pause the video, ready, set, write. Okay, guys, I hope that you did the exercise, that you wrote in your journal the answers to these questions. And let's move on to the next part of our morning routine, and that is a guided visualization, meditation, and empowering affirmations. Not in that order. First the visualization, then the affirmations, and we'll finish off by the meditation. And these 3 will follow another, so please do make sure that you're sitting somewhere comfortable, that you're not going to be disturbed. At least for the meditation, it's very important. You don't have to sit on the floor. You can sit on a chair for the meditation. That's perfectly fine. Whatever is comfortable, whatever makes you happy. As long as you do it, that's good enough for me. So for the visualization, I want you to try to imagine yourself facing an obstacle, a challenge. And you can start with something small. And now I want you to take ownership of that event. Don't blame anyone else, and don't blame the obstacle itself. Don't blame yourself either. Just take ownership of that event. Find a way to be proactive, that is. What will you do? And while you do it, what will it feel like? Will you be proud? And how will others feel around you? Will they be proud of you? How will others feel knowing that you are able to respond and take your opinions at check? It's a very important skill to be able to respond properly to events and to take ownership of our lives. When we do these visualization techniques, really put as much emotion and feeling into it. Use all the senses that you're most sensitive to. So it might be visual, but maybe you will smell things and see things and touch things if you're a more kinesthetic kind of person, or hear sounds around that scene, if we can call it a scene. And whenever you're ready, let's start with our empowering affirmations. I want you to just to repeat those affirmations out loud for me here. Okay, so let's start with the first one. I am response able. You can do those in front of a mirror, by the way. That might help. Just say it out loud. Say it with, put some emotion into it. It's very important. I'm going to repeat the first one. I am response able. Next, I take ownership over my life. Third, I don't blame events. My past does not equal my future. Events are not responsible for where I am. My opinion of those events are. I take personal full responsibility for my actions, my reactions, and my responses. I am committed to the equation E plus R equal O. That is, event plus response equal outcome. I am committed to get out of the victimization paradigm. Last but not least, I am proud of my ownership. Again, if you want to have all those affirmations written down, you can get them for free by signing up to our free newsletter, and you'll get them every day in your inbox. For now, let's continue on our meditation for the last part of today's episode, for today's little morning routine. Make sure your eyes are still closed, and let's begin by taking note of our breathing pattern. Don't change anything, just observe the way that you're breathing. When you're breathing in, you have a little movement in your shoulders, in your chest, maybe in your tummy if you're breathing very deep. And when you're breathing out, you have a little release, because you're relaxing your muscles and your joints across your body. Just notice, and nothing more. Some people think meditation is very hard, but you only have to sit there and check out how you breathe, and that is all. Notice you're breathing in and you're breathing out. You're breathing in and out. And I want you to count your breaths. And whenever you lose the count, just simply go back to 1. It's not a contest, you don't have to count until 20 or 30. Just notice your breath. And if a thought comes to your mind, don't worry about it. You're not doing anything wrong. We are thinking beings. Just go back to noticing the rhythm and the pulsation of your breath. Continue to breathing very gently. This might seem like a very simple exercise, and it really is. Maybe it's not one of the fancier meditations that we usually do here, but it is very powerful nonetheless. And I want you to continue doing this a few times during the day today when something happens, or when you know that you're gonna have to take responsibility. Maybe take 10-20 seconds and notice how you're breathing. It's always very simple and it's always the same, in and out. Sometimes it might be shallow, sometimes it might be deep. Usually when you're stressed and anxious or nervous, then it will be a little bit more shallow, a little bit higher, more towards your chest than towards your tummy. As long as you're able to notice it and to be mindful of your breathing, you will be able to change that. And by changing that, you will be able to change your state. So it is very powerful and it's very important. And for now, whenever you're ready, take a nice deep breath in through the nose, and on the exhalation through your mouth, gently open your eyes and put a smile on your faces. Congratulations, guys. This is it for today's episode. This was episode 5. This is our little morning routine here that we do every day. If you've enjoyed this episode, put a thumbs up. If you have any comments, put them down below. If you need any support or any help, send me a message either on Instagram at RaphWriter or on our support group on Facebook. You'll find a lot of like-minded people and we're there to support each other, so it's pretty cool. So check this out. Everything is linked in the comment section below. If you would like to buy me a coffee, I would really appreciate it. I drink a lot of coffee during the day, so if you would like to contribute to my caffeine intake, please do so. I will link everything down in the description below. And don't forget those worksheets. They're free and they're very helpful. So get them just by subscribing to the free newsletter. Okay, I'll see you in tomorrow's episode for episode 6. Take care. Bye.